Hello everyone! It's fantastic to meet you all. Today, let's explore how we write down musical notes. Firstly, you need to know how to read sheet music. We'll start with the canvas of musical writing. The music staff. A music staff consists of 5 horizontal and parallel lines drawn across the page. It's important to know that staff is also called stave. And when we refer to more than one, we use staves for both staff and stave. Each vertical position on the staff represents a unique pitch. Notes can be written either on the lines of the staff or in the spaces between the lines of the staff. Notes with higher pitches are written higher on the staff, while those with lower pitches are placed lower. Just as we read written English from left to right, notes on the staff move in 3 ways. Stepwise motion, moving up or down to the next space or line. Skipwise motion, moving up or down by more than a step. Stationary motion, repeating the same note. While the 5 lines and 4 spaces of the staff efficiently represent tones visually, we can represent tones higher or lower than the staff allows by adding lines as needed. These additional lines, called ledger lines, also spelled leisure, can be placed above the staff for higher notes or below for lower notes. Just like on the regular staff, notes can be positioned on the ledger lines themselves or in the spaces. So how can the staff of only 5 lines and 4 spaces be used to represent all the notes that we can hear in music? I mean, piano alone have 88 keys. So how do the staff and a few ledger lines manage all that? The answer is in the clef. The clef, derived from the Latin word clavis, meaning a key, is a symbol that indicates the range of notes represented on a specific staff. Throughout the history of music, various clefs have been used, but the most common ones today are the bass clef for low notes and the treble clef for higher notes. The treble clef is the most commonly used clef. Originally, it was part of a group of clefs known as the G clefs, named for their role in designating the placement of the note G on the staff. The treble clef, the G clef we are familiar with today, indicates that the note G is on the second line of the staff. Let's read the treble clef notes quickly using a mnemonic. To help you quickly identify the notes on the treble clef, here are 2 common tricks. The first 4 spaces spell out the word. The musical note F-A-C-E, when put together, spell face. Additionally, the notes on the lines are E-G-B-D-F, forming an acronym. Every good boy deserves fun. These mnemonics make it easier to remember the notes associated with each line and space. Now, let's learn about the bass clef. The bass clef is used to represent lower pitches. The bass clef we use today is the F clef, written in such a way to mark the note F on the 4th line of the staff. The tips for reading the treble clef more quickly apply just the same for the bass clef. These notes spell the word F-A-C-E for the spaces in both the treble clef and bass clef. The notes on the lines are a little different than the treble clef. This time, we use G-B-D-F-A, which you might remember with the phrase, "Good boys deserve fun always," for both the treble clef and bass clef. Treble clef. Every good boy deserves fun on the lines. Bass clef. Good boy deserves fun always on the lines. In the previous tutorial, I mentioned that one of the most important notes is middle C because it serves as the center point between the treble clef and the bass clef. Since the piano has many keys, it utilizes 2 staves. The lower one is for the bass clef, played by the left hand, and the upper one is for the treble, played by the right hand. In musical notation, these staves are connected by a brace, forming what we call the grand staff. Other instruments that also use the grand staff include different keyboards like the organ, celesta, and accordion, as well as the harp. Let's briefly explore the C clefs, though they are not as commonly used as the treble and bass clefs. The C clef indicates the position of the note C, specifically C4, known as middle C. When it designates the middle line as C, it becomes the alto clef, often used for instruments like the viola and trombone. Alternatively, When it designates the fourth line as C, it becomes the tenor clef, mainly used for the higher ranges of instruments like the bassoon, trombone, and cello. Once any one note is established on the staff, the other notes can be determined by counting up and down the musical alphabet. Let's test what we learned today by solving some problems. You can pause the video if needed. Lastly, I want to wrap up today's lesson by explaining the difference between key signature and accidental. In our last session, we discussed how key signatures work and related the topic to the circle of fifths. Now, we are introducing a new concept, accidentals. Let's compare these two terms to enhance our understanding. So what is a key signature? Think of it as the overall musical setting, or the main rules for a piece of music. It's placed at the beginning of the music staff, right after the clef. It tells you which notes are consistently played as sharps or flats throughout the entire piece. For example, if the key signature has an F hash, F sharp, every F note in the piece will be played as F sharp. An accidental is a one-time temporary change to a note's usual pitch. Accidentals are individual sharps, flats, or naturals added during the course of a piece to temporarily alter a note's pitch. It appears directly in front of the note it affects, not at the beginning of the staff like the key signature. It alters the pitch of a note for that specific moment. For instance, imagine you're playing a song in the key of C major, and the key signature indicates no sharps. While smoothly playing the C major scale, you decide that for one specific moment, you want the E note to be emphasized as E1. The key signature normally tells you to play E as E natural. However, you decide to deviate from this rule for a particular E note and use an accidental placing a sharp sign, thus in front of it. This E is now played as E1. This logic also works with flats. Again, you are playing C major. In the melody, you come across an F note. However, for a specific artistic choice, you want this F note to be played as F flat. Then you use an accidental. You place a flat sign in front of this F, and it is played as F flat. In the case of naturals, let's just say you are playing B flat major, and the key signature indicates B flat and E flat. While following the B major scale, you decide that for a specific moment, you want the D note to be played as D natural. You use an accidental, placing a natural sign in front of D. This D is now played as D natural, breaking the usual key signature rule. If the key signature indicates flats, you should not use accidental sharps. Conversely, if the key signature indicates sharps, you should not use accidental flats. This is because the key signature already establishes whether a note should be flat, natural, or sharp within a piece of music. In summary, key signature sets the main rules for the entire piece. Key signatures are written at the beginning of the music staff. Accidental, a quick temporary change for one specific note. Accidentals are written on the left of the note, in line with the note head, and they remain in effect temporarily. That's it for today's lesson. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Music theory is like a grammar book for musicians. Just as native speakers don't need to study grammar to speak their language fluently, musicians don't necessarily have to learn music theory. In fact, performing music is another skill, but it helps us deepen our understanding of the patterns in music. Next time, we'll delve into the rhythm or the time pattern in music. Thank you for watching, and as always, see you next time.